Hello, welcome to Dance Worka Podcast, and today we'll be talking about jobs available for people with dance training. Let's start with the most obvious one, the dancer. As a dancer, naturally you're expected to dance, and you would be looking for jobs that pay people to dance. So first of all, you could either be a freelance dancer for singers or performing singing artists who need dancers as backup or as complementary performances to the things they do on stage or in their videos. You could also perform in musical plays or shows, and that is good for people who have good theater experience, people who can also act. You could dance for a company's activation. That's very popular in Nigeria here. A lot of companies and product launches use dancers to draw attention to their new products at live events or in communities or areas where there are crowds. You could also perform in concerts. These days we have concerts that are dance themed and not necessarily about the music, different things, and those kind of concerts hire dancers. You can take part in competitions as well. Competitive dancing in certain communities is actually very lucrative. There's a lot of money being given out in some communities. So some people actually spend time preparing for the next competition. And when the prize money is good and you keep winning, if you keep winning, competitive dancing can also be a very lucrative venture. Or you could also dance in movies. These days, people are churning out content where movies that's about dance, or movies that dance is used to enhance certain scenes. And for productions like that, they prefer to use people who have knowledge or skill in proper dancing. All right. Most dancers' first job is to teach. Most of the time, once we learn, the first thing we do is teach. It's the first job a dancer gets to do, or some people actually think it's probably the most stable because of how popular it is. So if you've decided you want to teach, and dare I say, not everybody teaches successfully. There's a special kind of skill that comes with teaching, and patience that comes with teaching. So if you are going to teach, you get to decide who you will be teaching. Will you be teaching children? You will be teaching other pre-professional classes, people who are applying to take dance professionally, teaching young people, teaching adults. Will you be teaching as a fitness program? Will you be teaching technical dancers as well? So when you've answered the question of who or what you'll be teaching, you can now decide, will you teach in schools? Like in Nigeria now, a lot of schools are beginning to add dance to their curriculum. So would you be teaching in a school? Would you be teaching in a studio, which is outside the conventional school? And studios are designed for dancing primarily. So the dancing in studios is different from the dancing in the schools. It's handled differently. The expectations too are also different. Would you decide to coach dance teams? Because if people are preparing for competition, some teams actually need people to handle not just their choreography, but to get them better. They may not be dealing with the studio directly, and they may not be part of a school. They may just be a team on their own. You'll be coaching dance teams. Will you be coaching churches? Because yes, it's a thing in Nigeria. Churches are teaching people churches are learning how to dance. There are dancers in churches learning how to dance. The churches these days are trying to keep everything within the walls of the church. So they found a way to bring everything needed to church, including dance. And then will you be teaching online? I have to add that we didn't think that would be a thing in Nigeria, but this whole COVID-19 issue has brought that to light. A lot of dance classes are taking places online, and we are all taking places with people from other parts of the country, and some of us are also giving these dance classes as well. So you have more options now. So it's to decide if you want to teach, and then dare I say that all these jobs I'm referring to, you can either do them freelance on your own, you hustle your customers, you hustle your mode of operation, or you could do them as part of an organization, because there are certain organizations that provide these jobs, and then they help you get the jobs, assign the jobs to you, or you do it by working for them and you get a salary or a commission. Okay, next one is the choreographer. You could choreograph, and no, choreography or choreographer is not the same thing as the dancer or the dance teacher. It's a thing on its own. The choreographers create moves, they coordinate moves, they arrange the steps that are being put together for a dance performance or a performance. Is a series of coordinated or pre-arranged steps. That's what choreography is, and the choreographer is responsible for composing those steps for a performance. And I must say that it's not every time a choreography ends up as dance. It can end up as anything. People choreograph parades. The parade you see, the march past you see, they are all choreographed. The salutes are choreographed. So as a choreographer, your options are almost limitless. Now, if you're going to go into choreography, if you're going to be a choreographer, you can choreograph for stage. And for stage is a lot. I mean, you can choreograph stage productions, musicals that have music and dancing. You can also choreograph for movies. I had mentioned that if you were going to be dancing in movies, then naturally there should be somebody creating those dances that will be done in movies. You can choreograph for shows, which is still on stage. And yeah, these days too, we also have shows online. So far as there's movement involved, a choreographer who can sit back and see the big picture and create based on information or instruction given to him or her by the director is needed. So you could choreograph a school team. Could be a school dance team, school cheerleading team, a school march team, a school band. You could even show choirs aren't very popular in Nigeria, but the few that do have need someone in charge of choreography. And yes, sometimes when dealing with schools, a student just steps up. Like when I was in school, a student just steps up and then takes charge. But these days, schools bring in professionals to handle these things properly. Like I said, you can choreograph parades. It could be the marching or the dancing. You could choreograph carnivals. It has become, as it's a big deal. And most carnival bands have teams of choreographers with one choreography lead. So it's a good place to get a job if what you're into is choreography. Most carnival bands and carnival teams would be needing or usually need the services of a choreographer. You could choreograph videos. That's the dancing that goes on in videos, either for a musical artist or for the dancers, or a campaign of some sort that's going to be recorded. And I must add that choreography for camera is different from choreography for stage. They come off differently, and you have to be sensitive enough to tell what works through a camera and what will work with the naked eye on stage. You can choreograph for a concert as well, and you could choreograph anything that needs moving. A group of people, like the people who do the kung fu, the movements they do when they prep. So far as the movement is organized, it's choreography. So you can offer services on set to choreograph stunts. Yes, because those stunts have to be rehearsed. So it's move after move, step after step. So if you're going to if a movie or a show is going to include fights, they will need somebody to handle the choreography. Most times they go for someone who actually fights the fight style. But for aesthetic, we usually recommend that it has to be somebody with choreography experience to give the necessary spectacle that the director will probably want to achieve with his or her production. As you mature within dance, you realize that your responsibilities change. Another role that you could play as you go on is creative director. With a dance background, you have a more versatile knowledge or grasp of artistic options within a production of any sort, be it on stage, on film, or in an arena. You have more options. You know what is capable, what the human bodies or the bodies you get to work with are capable of. And I think people with dance backgrounds make better directors. I stand to be corrected, because they do more with movement. So as you go on, as people get to trust you and trust your work, from choreography, you could move into directing. It doesn't mean that as a director, you are if you remain a choreographer, you're inferior to those who move on to directing. But it's an option. But the chances that they will let you direct will be higher if you're more mature within the industry. So as a director, you can direct everything I had mentioned previously that a dancer gets to get involved in: the movies, the stage activities, all the shows. Everything I had mentioned earlier on needs someone directing. And as a director, you need to step into those shoes and take charge of the production you've been given. Okay, let me go on within the creative sector. Another thing you could also be doing as you go on is also the creative producer. A lot of people run from producing in Nigeria because of the responsibility that comes with it. But then, as if you were actually a practitioner and you grow into actually producing, you're more sensitive to issues that come up on the production. And I believe the producers are the heartbeat of every industry, and it's the same thing for dance as well, because the producers create jobs. So as a producer, there are several dance themed activities you can be producing. Apart from just shows, you could produce a competition, you could also produce a fair, you could produce rallies, you could also produce weeks. There are different things you could be preparing apart from just a show or concert, even though yes, you can and should produce shows and concerts. But then, like I said, you have a more dancers should evolve to become producers, take charge of these productions, and be the link between the money and the art itself. Yes, you could also go into costume and makeup, dressing and adorning the people who perform. And it's still for the same reason as the producer. A person who has danced before knows what is expected of the body wearing certain clothes. And so you would handle assigning costumes better. You handle recommending costumes better. So you don't necessarily have to be the ones making the costume. But even if you do venture into actually making good, but there are different aspects of costuming that you can take charge of. I was part of a production where the costumier herself was more of a management person. She didn't do the designing, so she consulted on the coordinating of the costumes generally. She had designers working with her, had tailors working with her. She had different people doing different things, and she was called on the job because of how she handled logistics of the costumes, assigning, retrieving, appointing, and everything moves so smoothly. So it's also somewhere you could look into and you could get concerned in. And if it's something you're interested in, it means you should pay attention, a lot of attention while you're part of productions now, so that when you decide to migrate in that direction, you wouldn't have to be looking for information at that time. There's still a lot more work or jobs that dancers can take on within the creative sector. But I want to switch to management now. We need people. Okay, an option available to you is one, studio manager. And the studio manager and the studio owner are not necessarily the same person. But the manager is responsible for the coordinating of the activities within the studio. Booking customers, getting payments recorded, sending reminders for classes, sending reminders for payments, bank runs, the general running of the studio administratively. We need more administrative personnel within the industry. A lot of us are too carried away with the glam of performance, and there are too few people getting down and getting the work with figures done. So yes, studio manager is one. Another is the company manager, person in charge of booking, person in charge of logistics for transportation when they move or travel for projects. We need more managers in different aspects, even the artistic managers. There's a lot, but we need more dancers or more personnel rather in management. And yes, really, you don't have to actually have danced or taken training in dancing to take on management. but then the passion cannot be faked. When these roles are taken by people who already have some information or have some experience within dancing, they handle it differently. They understand more. They are a lot more compassionate about things that are peculiar to the people who will be dancing. So we need more people in management. We need more people handling paperwork. We need more people handling signing and legal activity. People who know what is expected of the dancer and what the dancers would also expect in return. I'll give an example. I was talking with someone today, and the person mentioned that certain people were a little concerned that the dancers were asking for money to do an Instagram video for them. And I corrected the impression that, look, even if a dancer decides to do an Instagram video for a certain, say, artist or a more popular artist for free, he knows why he or she is doing it. So you who wants that done for you, you're the one who needs something. Dancer can decide to choose any song the dancer wants to do and do for free. But that you want it, you shouldn't get angry that you're being charged. The only thing the dancer may be getting for you may be just that your money. So a friend asked why dancers need rehearsal allowance. And I explained that the rehearsal allowance is needed because that's where most of the work is done. The performance is a lot less stressful than the actual preparation. And I could answer that because I know what it takes to do rehearsal. People just sit down and think dancers just wake up and then they can fly. They don't know anything about the amount of work that is being put into the production or the creation of the steps that they see on stage. So if somebody is managing the dancers, the person has to be aware of the work that is put in. And that level of awareness is different when the person actually takes a class and not just sees the work, but feels the work. So someone who has performed before or who has some level of dance training, who goes into managing another dance organization or a dancer, handles the affairs very differently from somebody who has never done it. So these are a few things you can do with your dance training or your dance background. There's a lot more, but let's just deal with this for now. You could also have dance organizations, which I'll talk about in my next podcast, because these are jobs you get paid for. These are things you can do freelance or, like I said, as part of an organization. But there are several organizations that need to exist within dance, and we'll be talking about in our next podcast. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you learned something new, and I also hope that I've inspired you to do more. So, as usual, questions. Of all the things we had listed you can do as a dancer, as a teacher, as a choreographer, as a producer, as director, studio manager, company manager, of everything we've mentioned that can be done. 1, which would you like to do now? You have to ask yourself that, like I said, like with the previous podcast, these questions are for you. Which would you like to do now? Would you like to be dancing now? Would you like to be teaching now? Would you like to be choreographing now? Or would you like to do all of that, all of them at once now? Which would you like to do? Secondly, of the places I had mentioned that these jobs can be gotten, is there any around you? Is there anywhere around you they are staging productions? Is there anywhere around you they are shooting movies? Are there any schools around you that would be hiring teachers? Are there teams around you that would be needing choreography? Are there carnivals in your community? Which is nearest to you? Which of these activities go on near you? Like I said, these questions are for you, so list that as well. And question 3, like I said, that everything I've mentioned can either be done as a freelance or as an organization. And if you are part of an organization, remember, like I said in the last podcast, your duty is to bring value, give value to the organization you're in. So these questions you're answering, even though you're answering them for yourself, you have to run them through with whoever is in charge with your organization. And you guys can pursue these ventures as an organization. And I must say, people seem to handle or treat organizations better than they would treat freelancer, because there's a value for corporate activity. So when you go as a company or you go as a group of people who are properly organized and put together, you will definitely get more for the work you put in. So you have to check, so if you're doing this as an organization, what is the company you are into, and which of the things that are available can your company take on, not just for you, but for the rest of you too in your organization. I must add, there is a chance that these people may not be aware that the service you're about to provide them is something they need or they could use, so be patient with them. You have to also ask yourself, how much are you going to do to let them know that what you're offering is of or will be of value to them? Because sometimes it's not just about being paid. If you do something with someone and they value it enough, when you now mention a fee, they will be willing to consider it, even though yes, it's not in all cases. But you have to realize how far you're going to go to prove how much value you could provide to them, especially if it is a service they haven't taken before or a service they are not aware that they need. But I can assure you, if you do a good job, it's something that will stay, because these people do need these services. But like I said, some of them are not even aware that they need them.